stolen land.
This is literally like stolen land.
I don't think that anyone is illegal on stolen land.
See? When it was conquered.
Welcome to the Learing Tree. Get your pencil and paper ready. Class is about to begin. Nobody's illegal on stolen land. Hey, what's up? You've heard that phrase 1,000 times, haven't you? But today, on the Learing Tree, we're not answering a slogan with another slogan. We're going to put the claim against the historical record once and for all. Is America stolen land? Let's find out. No politics, no spin, no opinions, just maps, treaties, purchases, agreements, wars, and the documents that actually created the United States. And before Europeans arrived, North America wasn't one unified Native American country. They did not have one government, and they most certainly did not have one leader. It was home to hundreds of distinct indigenous nations and communities with different languages, territories, alliances, and governments. They traded with one another, formed alliances, competed for territory, and sometimes fought wars against one another. Their political relationships were complex and changed over time, over and over again. Look at this map. There was no single political entity called Native America controlling everything you see. These were many different peoples and nations, and even this map can only approximate their overlapping and changing homelands. So how did all of that eventually become the 50 United States? We're going piece by piece, from the Treaty of Paris and the Louisiana Purchase through Florida, Texas, Oregon, the Mexican Cession, Alaska, and Hawaii. For each one, I'll show you the territory, then we'll look at the historical evidence explaining exactly how the United States acquired it once and for all. If you've got a friend who says nobody's illegal on stolen land, send them to the Learing Tree.
How did the American Revolution officially end? The United States and Great Britain sent delegates to Paris, France to work out a treaty. In April of 1783, the American Congress ratified or approved the document, and on September the 3rd, 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, officially ending the war. The Treaty of Paris was a clear victory for the Americans, as Great Britain formally recognized the United States as an independent nation with territory reaching to the Mississippi River and from Spanish-held Florida to Canada.
On the 30th of April 1803, the Louisiana Purchase Treaty was concluded between the United States and France.
When France lost control of their Saint-Domingue colony, Napoleon's plan for a global empire fell apart. Without that colony, controlling Louisiana was pointless. He was also facing pressure from the British and knew France would soon be embroiled in another war with them. He needed funds. Because of the actions of a group of enslaved people in modern-day Haiti, the Louisiana Territory secretly became available for the United States to purchase. Napoleon instructed the French treasurer to sell the Louisiana Territory for 50 million francs, striking a deal with Robert Livingston. After some negotiation, the French sold the land to the United States for 60 million francs plus 20 million francs of French debt owed to U.S. citizens, which amounts to roughly $15 million.
The U.S. Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams, began negotiations with Spain. Spain's representative was Luis de Onís. After intense talks, both sides reached a historic agreement. In 1819, they signed the Adams-Onís Treaty. Under this treaty, Spain gave Florida to the United States. The U.S. agreed to settle claims and define borders. By 1821, Florida officially became part of the United States.
Here's where things get complicated. The U.S. government is eyeing Texas but worried. Admitting Texas means adding another slave state, and that's a hot-button issue. The North isn't thrilled since it could tip the balance of power in Congress. Plus, Mexico makes it clear annexing Texas means trouble. Still, expansion fever wins out. In 1845, President John Tyler and Congress pass a resolution to annex Texas. Texas says yes, and by December, it's officially part of the U.S.
In 1818, the last major border between present-day Canada and the U.S. took shape. More specifically, a border that stretched from Lake of the Woods, Manitoba, to the Rocky Mountains in British Columbia, and would eventually extend to Vancouver Island in 1846. What was ultimately agreed upon was a razor-like straight line that followed the 49th parallel, completely ignoring the numerous water reservoirs and mountain routes along the way. Not to mention that it unceremoniously sliced off a fingertip of land in BC that became part of the United States, but still can only be accessed through Canada.
Enter the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, signed on February 2, 1848, in a small town near Mexico City. This treaty officially ends the fighting, but its impact? Way bigger than just peace.
After a succession of victories and the Mexican Army's capitulation at Mexico City, negotiations were begun by U.S. envoy Nicholas Trist. The causes of the war were not delineated in the treaty, such as the land dispute and, to go back further, Mexico's refusal to acknowledge Texas's independence and subsequent annexation to the United States. The U.S. would pay $15 million for land that would comprise what is now all of California, Nevada, and Utah, most of Arizona, and parts of Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico. It also stipulated that all Mexican citizens living on the lands had the choice to move to what remained of Mexico or become U.S. citizens, with around 90% choosing the latter.
The Treaty of Mesilla, which authorized the Gadsden Purchase, was drafted and signed on 30th December 1853 through the administration of Franklin Pierce. It was the last substantial land acquisition of what is now the lower 48 in the southern part of modern-day state of Arizona and southern New Mexico. James Gadsden, South Carolina Railroad magnate and U.S. ambassador to Mexico, advocated the purchase as to bolster trade from southern seaports, especially Gadsden's hometown of Charleston. Gadsden drafted the treaty which sought to purchase 29,670 square acres for $10 million, about $230 million in 2022. The treaty with amendments was signed by Gadsden and Mexican President Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna on 30th December 1853 and ratified on 25th April 1854 in the U.S. and by Mexico in June.
It was agreed in March 1867 between the governments of the US and Russia that Alaska would be bought, but how did they come up with the price? Well, Russia had sent a team of surveyors to look for things like natural resources and to see how good life in Alaska was. And it was determined that Alaska was worth about $10 million. However, the surveyors argued that Alaska shouldn't be sold at all and that the governance of it simply be reformed. The emperor ignored this and both sides negotiated until the sum of $7.2 million was agreed. In October 1867 it was transferred to America and Russia's attention would thereafter be focused to the south and to the west.
With the U.S. election of William McKinley in 1897, the presidency began considering something much more serious than simply not reinstating the Queen. The new president was now open to annexing Hawaii. Negotiations with annexationists began in the early summer of 1897, shortly into McKinley's presidency, and it seems that the president scarcely needed convincing. The Newlands Resolution was signed into law on January 7, 1898, officially annexing the Hawaiian Islands. Hawaii was now a territory of the United States of America.
Hey, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please like and subscribe for all the fun. And remember, the United States isn't stolen land. It's conquered, purchased, and agreed upon land. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Peace.